What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 101 on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is our first episode of the Innovators series. Today I welcomed a music industry veteran. He's an author. He had experience on BET and television and in radio. His name is Paul Porter. I get to talk to Paul about his many years in the industry today, really his real experiences about just how music has changed over the years, coming from Queens in New York, living down the street from James Brown and Nina Simone. I mean, that was incredible to hear that story at the beginning. He talks about how his son is now in the industry, working with artists like Little Baby. And Paul also runs Muzicbizu.com, which is designed to help independent artists and up-and-coming artists really find their footing in the industry and really just make their own way, as opposed to, falling victim to a lot of the things we see different artists suffer from in the industry, as far as being taken advantage of and really just not being able to make real money at doing what they love. And I think what Paul has done ever since he, began this journey, this very long journey, is just he's looked out for people. You know what I mean? He's a real honest guy, and he just keeps it very blunt and to the point. But I can tell that he cares about the craft. Especially music in general. He just cares about the quality. And I respect that a ton. There's also a very hilarious Stevie Wonder story in here that you guys might enjoy, but very fitting guest to have on as the first episode of The Innovators. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 101 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creators Series. Actually, no, this is the Innovators Series. I'm so used to saying it. This is actually the first episode of the Innovators Series, and I got a really special guest here today. I actually found him through Clubhouse. Very inspirational person right here. He's an author. He's had experience in TV, radio, all across the music industry, entertainment industry. Paul Porter is here. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. I'm glad to be here. I'm ready to roll, and after a long day in the Florida sun, pulling some weeds, it's a good thing, though, man. But
well, thank you again for taking the time. I didn't even know you were in Florida, but I hope you're enjoying the warm weather because we don't have it up here yet in Ohio.
Oh no, man! I spent most of my time in New York and D.C. and came down here in beloved shorts.
I was about to say, after all the years up north, you probably earned it. You know what I mean? You were in the warm
weather.
Yeah,
it was the right time. It's no more cold winters, and I'm 5 miles from the beach.
Oh, so can't beat that, man. That's goals, 100%. So
and not Jones Beach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So to start off every episode, we kind of just have the guests, give a bit of background. Who are you? How long have you been doing? What you've been doing in the industry and everything. Just a little bit of basic information for those that might not be familiar with you and what you do.
Well, I'm an old man. I'm a double OG in this game. I started out in college, radio in the 70s. But my training started before that. I grew up in Queens in New York, and my best friend's father got divorced from his mom and wound up marrying Nina Simone and managing Nina Simone. So as a little kid, 8 and 9, I would go for the weekend to be at Nina Simone's house. Wow. And then he started running RCA Records, and it just started me thinking music at 8, 9 years old. So as I got older, James Brown lived on the same street 60 blocks away. And I would ride my bike and just stay outside of James Brown's house. So music's been an influence for a long time. I was lucky enough to start in college DJing, which got me on the radio, and 1090 WILD Boston. That was my first gig. And, radio took me to TV, to BET, and BET took me to AOL, and then it took me to record deals and Entertainment Tonight, and I've done a whole lot of stuff. I wrote it all in my book. It's called Blackout, My 40 Years in the Music Business. It's a short read, but it's a damn good read because it talks about all the problems that how music culture and corporations have sort of changed the planet, and they have. And we're not doing a good job of catching up and teaching anymore.
Well, man, it's an incredible journey for you then, because I had seen about the James Brown story. I think you posted on your Instagram kind of about that. I didn't know anything about the Nina Simone thing, so that's incredible right there. Just the heavy ties just to music in general, and that's music history. Like those are some of the greatest artists to ever live. You know what I mean? And you were just right there in the middle of it and everything. So it's kind of like one thing just kind of led to another for you. You know what I mean? It's just slowly kind of built up into this amazing.
Hey, I went to college. I went to college to play basketball.
Oh.
I went to Christ the King. My coach is in the Hall of Fame, Jim Calhoun. He was my coach.
Calhoun, wow.
Yeah, so he was my coach. So it's this crazy stuff like that that happens to me. And basketball led to the radio station, and the radio station led to, you know, the union job. And when NBC called me, when Donnie Simpson called me, I was making $12,000 a year. And then I went to $66,000 a year and had a TV show, and I'm 24 in DC, and you know everything's going crazy. The music's changing. You know, drugs were this on another level, and the parties and being in the nation's capital back when they called it Chocolate City, not the $1 million. It was just a great time, man, and there's so much great live music. We don't see those shows anymore. You know, I would go to a show, it'd be Parliament, Funkadelic, Cameo, the Commodores, and the Ohio Players. All bands at LTD with 11 people, all jamming. And you know, to see how it, and I'm not bitter about the changes, but a lot of things when sampling took place, you know, sort of song quality sort of died. You know, those, you know how you hear commercials on TV, and those shows, I was talking about Nina Simone. That song Feels Good. That thing plays on like 15 commercials. You know, it's like Otis Redding's catalog. He had songs in the 60s, but it generates $7 to $8 million a year for the family. You know, still all these years later. And that's the side of the business we don't talk about. We talk about YouTube and viral. I'm talking about seeing guys that had hit records, platinum records, and are starving now, you know, or die early. So there's a lot of things that concern me. I'll be 65 later this year. My son works in the industry with little baby for years. It's a different ball game. I never had to wear a bulletproof vest, but I do carry a gun because I live in Florida. But anyway.
It must be crazy, though, to say you've lived through all that stuff, though, because, like, me, I was born, like, super late, so I didn't get to live through any of that stuff. Like, I came in late 90s. I missed even the 90s era of music, so I don't even know what that was all about, you know what I mean? So
there's so much you can hear and see now.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
There's so much footage.
Yeah, and just the way things have changed, because, like, even back then, it's like there was no streaming, there was no internet, so it's like the access wasn't exactly there. It was kind of just, you either heard it on the radio or, you know, whatever.
There was the record store at the bus stop. You would take the bus home, and they had speakers outside, and you would hear songs, and you would go in and buy the 45. You know, it was instant demand, you know. And if somebody had an album, you know, I remember being young, having the Richard Pryor album. Like, you would have a comedy album and bring it to somebody's house on a date because people want to hear it. So music's not as important as it was before. It's like heavyweight boxing was number one. Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, all the big guys. In boxing, all the heavyweights left. It became smaller and quicker and blah, blah, blah. You know, times change. And it's not the old man in me say, but music just doesn't last as long. You know, like in radio and research and media, we have this thing called research. And the three things that always matter is popularity, recognition, and fatigue. And the problem with a lot of the songs now, they burn out early. That's called fatigue. Like, you never want to hear it after you heard it 5 times. Like DJ Khaled, he's like the king of the fatigue songs. You know, even though he's had a bunch of hits, they don't last for, you know, great songs last forever. Some songs like this, Diddy songs, that I'd never want to hear. You know, I don't want to hear all about the Benjamins anymore. That was like a trend. But anyway, there's a lot to go into all. There's a business inside of every business when it comes to entertainment and music.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of all that, then I'm wondering if all these experiences for you kind of led to you, you know, leading to the book, honestly, because you put a lot of that in the book as far as experiences go and everything. Do you think that all came from directly from what you saw behind the scenes? Like you kind of just put all that into one, and then you decided like, oh, I'm going to put this in a book, or like how did you get to that point, you think?
Well, it's funny. I had started a website called Rap Rehab. It's still up. If you go to the brain food section and do it yourself, I saw so many people getting ripped off trying to be in the music industry, paying $2,500 to go see an A&R, which is some BS, doing this. And, you know, so many people were running games. And when I was at BET, the last time I was BET and program director in 66 million homes, I saw how it changed firsthand. You know, I got a FedEx at the hotel the second Saturday I was there. I opened it up and said Karen Klein, and it was 3 white envelopes with $30,000 in cash in it. No name, no nothing. That Monday I got a call from the record label. Hey, did you get our welcome to BET package? And I said, yo, and that's in the book. But there's so many hands out in this business. To think that you're going to go viral and just do it without being ripped off is a lie. Mm-hmm. There are wolves out here. And I want to see people do well, you know. Because I've had ups and downs my whole life, you know. There's been great times. I'm at Stevie Wonder in Africa, you know, his first trip with BET and then there's been times when I've been homeless, you know. So it's the full spectrum here, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I like to talk about it because people always talk about the happy side. And there's so many people like United Masters is a company that Steve Stout started. Mm-hmm. And Steve Stout worked for Universal Records in the 90s with Diddy, blah, blah, blah. So he started this new company that says, own your own masters, keep your own rights. But if you look on the front page, the first thing they do is lock you up. They have first right of refusal if you got an offer for a deal. So he's ripping you off. Mm-hmm. You know, there's so much smoke and mirrors in this business. And that's what I like to get people. And the thing is, you can't tell me that I got a hit song with over 150 million views. My cousin Chris Porter, The Water Dance. I know what hands to stroke and what you don't have to do, but everybody tells so many lies, and that bothers me.
Mm-hmm. How important do you think that the internet was to that kind of expanding? Because it seems like it's only getting worse as the internet grows and as the music industry changes. Is that like directly to be responsible, or is it just we're just seeing it more because of the internet? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the internet is a lot of companies' excuse. Even though they control the numbers there too, mm-hmm. You know, like trending and getting certain positions is like gold on Spotify. Yeah. So we have this assumption everything's free, but it's not. You know, you can buy this, you can buy that. So I don't know. I just wish people would make better music. I wish rappers would write better rhymes. I wish, you know, things would last longer, you know, and they don't. And that's because we're fast. It's a fast world. You want to look at your phone, get it, and be into something else, you know. But back in the day, when people really listened to music, like when's the last time, have you ever been in a home that had on a home stereo playing?
In my
You're
time,
younger.
No, not really, no.
Yeah, and that was the only thing you would do for decades, you know. At least have speakers set up. I got stuff in my house. I don't use it except my studio. But, you know, nobody listens to me. Before, you would hear music every day. It was funny. I was going to a guy's house in the hood the other day. And I heard music out of every apartment blasted, and I was like, wow, maybe it's the hood thing now that people play music. Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about like having the vinyls and everything, having the records you would go buy. It's like the feeling is kind of lost a little bit. You know what I mean? Just because of the accessibility too. It's like if I could just pull
and you
up,
would read the back of the cover.
Yeah.
Even CD covers, you would read those.
It's funny because like even like vinyls now, like they became popular again. Even though a lot of people don't even have vinyl players, but they get them because they just like to look through them and just see like their favorite artists, like the discography. They like to see who produced the record. They like to see who engineered it, just to do it. You know what I mean? Because they can't through a phone. If you're on Spotify, you can read the credits. You can't touch it. You can't feel it. You know what I mean? So it's like I totally agree with that. Because I think that it is like a changing world, and it's just going to keep changing. It's like we can't go back, but it does make you wish that people cared a little more. You know what I mean? It seems like a lot of people just don't. They kind of just put things out there, and they really put no thought to it. So
there's some game-changing artists out here, though. You know, this in the Grammys the other night, to see Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak basically do a 70s R&B set and leave the door open goes number one. It's what you force feed folks anyway. You know, they'll tell you that people don't want to hear great songs, but they love great songs if they hear them. You know, but they only want to hear them if it's Adele. You know, the big companies or certain people, and you know. Anyway, there's some people with some fight out here. Music's going to always have a place.
Yeah. What's going on, everyone? Just wanted to take a quick minute out of today's episode to let you guys know about the sponsor for this summer, Kali Audio. Kali Audio has been around since 2018. They've been providing incredible audio products to music creators, producers, artists, pretty much everyone in between. Shout out to Nate Baglios. I actually got in contact with him earlier this year. He's the head of marketing over there, and he hooked me up with some LP8s, which I've been using. Very great audio quality. Really excited to be able to finally have monitors for myself, to be able to create, especially being a producer as well. They're going to come in handy. I really recommend you guys go check them out. That's Kali Audio, KALI audio.com. You'll be able to see their full lineup of products. Very affordable, very great build quality as well. I'm very impressed with the LP8s, so I can imagine the LP6s and all the other monitors are very good quality as well. So go check them out, and just wanted to remind you, we have a giveaway coming at the end of the summer in August, where I'll be giving away a pair of the LP8s to one lucky contestant. And I'm looking forward to, doing that and gifting the great sounds of Kali Audio to someone else, because I think that's a really great thing to have, especially if you don't have monitors or anything. Once again, big shout out to them. Really appreciate them for even getting back in contact with me. So go check them out. But for now, let's get back into the episode. And great music will never die. That's 100%, like we were talking about earlier. So I'm curious to know about Muzicbizu, the website. I'm curious to know like how that got going. How has that been helping like up and coming artists, independent artists, kind of find ways to avoid those issues? You know what I mean, that we were talking about.
That's exactly why it arrived. You know, I've talked to so many artists over the years that had hit records, but the business side, they call it music business for a reason. They go together. And until you want to do the business, the music's just not going to carry you. Matter of fact, I'd rather do the business right and have a sucky song go number one and get paid than have something blow up that'll do 40 million and you won't get a cent because you didn't clear the sample. You know, this like when Diddy did I'll Be Missing You and Sting took all the money because he didn't give an okay. That was the number one song.
Yeah.
Like, we got to do things smart. And the process of this business is you're going to lose. Like, somebody's going to get you. But the more defense and the more thought you have. So, yeah, I've worked with a lot of people over the years from the very beginning on and off and saved people and tried to, but yeah, Muzicbizu was sort of like, I've always sort of been a rebel, so I don't mind talking up if somebody's getting screwed, or if somebody, like my old radio station owner, I give her hell because she got rich and didn't pay anybody. She's still paying. I started working for Kathy Hughes in 1988, and part-timers were making $15. Well, 2022, part-timers are making $20. You know? Yeah. And back in 1988, at my NBC station, we were making $250 for part-timers, and she was paying $60. And her station had the... So sometimes it's about being fair, and I understand business, you get away with it, but I don't want to deal with you if you're a crook. Yeah. Like if you're stepping on somebody's shoulders to get to the top, that's not too much fun.
I'm curious, do you ever have like pushback from like the artists you work with, like the up and coming artists? Are they ever kind of butting heads with you about like how you kind of approach it or not?
I do it so rare. I don't have time for knuckleheads. Yeah. So I'm really good at, you know, if I do 1 or 2 records a year now, before it used to be a bigger hustle, but nah, man, it's not worth it to be out with crazies. Yeah. Because everybody's gonna, like, that's my son's job. He walks around with vests and 2 guns on, and little baby and the rest of these knuckleheads. And they got hits, but it's still not worth that point. I don't want to, like, one day he told me, yeah, we don't stop at any red lights in Atlanta. We run all the red lights and pay the tickets. It's like 6,000 a month. Really? Is life really come to that because people get shot in Atlanta at the red lights and nice cars? But really, I think now he lives in Houston, so.
Yeah.
And I'm a grandfather.
Oh, congrats on that. Yeah.
On my mother's birthday, anyway. Wow. I had to say that.
That's special, right there. That's special. Yeah. So when your son said he kind of wanted to be in this industry, was there any like, were you kind of concerned, or did you just say, you know what, like he's my son, I told him, go for it?
I told him radio sucks because he wanted to be in radio, and luckily he moved over to the record side, and it's worked out. But I was like, unless you're doing a morning show on radio, it's not the same thing. You know, I was lucky. I got a pension from radio because there were unions at Hot 97, at BLS, at Kiss in DC, at HUR, where they pay you real money, but doing things for fun. And I've done a lot of things for nothing. Don't get me wrong. But please, don't get excited about being on the radio if they're using your talents or having a YouTube channel that nobody watches. Like, what does it mean? Yeah. Like, who are you helping? And who, you know, the good thing is I can say I mentor people that have done great things. You know, Wendy Williams, she'll tell you, Joyanne Reed tells you, Tuma Basa from YouTube. Like, there's a lot of people, like, I pick winners. And it's good to pick winners and help people do, because then they look out for you, you know? But the main thing is seeing them grow, you know, and I had people that taught me, you know? But we don't do enough teaching or enough interaction. I think we know it all. And there's a difference between experience and expertise. Like, I got friends that have been 30 years deep in the industry, but they're not ready for today. They're still doing what they did 15 years ago, and that don't work. So, but those are the tough conversations we all need to have.
Yeah. I think it goes back to, like, you got to give and take, too. Like, you got to know when the time is to give and the time is to take. You got to do a little bit of both. There's got to be reciprocation. You know what I mean? It can't just be a one-sided thing.
Yeah.
I think for you've gotten that over the years, you know what I mean? And you understand that giving back is what it's all about. You know what I mean? Like, if we can't, like, share that information with other people, then why are we even doing it to begin with? You know what I mean? We got to.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. You don't realize some of this stuff when you're younger. I realized, luckily, to always treat people right, but don't be a punk about it either.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna be stepped on. I'm not gonna let you abuse me just to keep a job.
Yeah.
You know, and I've seen some people do wild stuff where you gotta check them. Like, really? At BET, like, their egos got involved with it, touching and grabbing on women. And one day, it was almost a fight. We at the bike fest. Really, Tigger? You know, and I tell him that he remembers from 20-something years ago. Like, and that's how cats in my park used to grab me. You know, and you would listen to Thurman, but we don't listen enough. We're so advanced, and crypto's made a bunch of millionaires that forget where they come from. I call it selective amnesia.
Oh, I like
when
that. I
like
that phrase.
Yeah, selective amnesia.
Yeah, totally see that though, 100%. So I'm also curious to know, you know, what can we expect from you? Do you have any other things in the works? Maybe with Muzicbizu, maybe another book. Like, what do you got coming up?
I definitely got a book, but I just signed a deal for this place in Lakeland, Florida. It's called The Well. But they deal with media and broadcasting in Florida with a lot of younger kids, teaching them. And they got a 5,000 square foot building and some studios. And I'm going to spend my time doing what I want to do. And that's sort of like where I want to be. You know, I still got my station in Orlando, The Wire, 98.5. We're a nonprofit. We work with students from Evans High School, and seeing some of them grow, that's like real cool for me now. It doesn't have to be any. And I got, the best thing I got going for is the guy that's playing Michael Jackson on Broadway, Miles Frost. So my best buddy for my everyday guys is manager, and working with Miles, and he's gonna win a Tony. It's that good, and got some records coming out on him that are just great records because he can really sing. So that's all. I want to be around music and media. You know, I wish I could be at the new Mercedes dealer getting me a AMG 63, but maybe for 65.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's you know, that's something you could do one day. You still got time, you know. So
yeah, I got time. But as these prices go up, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Who knows, man? Now, I've heard about that Michael Jackson musical though. I might have to look into that. Looks pretty cool. Oh,
he kills it, and he can sing. He can really sing, but they do a great job, and he's gonna be on the Tony Awards performing in May. Nice. That just came through. So, nice. and it's good to see a guy 23 years old going to school at Bowie State. His first job is Broadway, and somebody on Broadway at the Neil, you make a lot of money. Yeah. You know, you work hard, but that's a hell of a stepping stone because everybody's come to see the show. He's going to be on TV on the Wendy Williams with Sherry Shepherd next week. Wow. So they give him an hour. So you're going to see him. It's just cool to see people brighten up. Other than that, I'm good, man. And I do podcasts like yours.
Oh, I got to check out. What's your show called? I gotta listen.
Oh, I said, no, I do podcasts with people like you.
Oh, I thought you had a show. I'm like, if he had a show, I got to tune in.
No, I'm too tired to do my own.
Well, I respect that. But yeah, I was gonna say if he has a podcast and I didn't know about it, I obviously didn't do my research enough. But I got to check out the show.
Well, watch it. Did you see the C-SPAN special? You got to watch the C-SPAN special. Google Paul Porter Blackout C-SPAN. They gave me 90 minutes.
Oh,
we do a panel from D.C. I tell some of the craziest stories of crazy stuff that happens. Before I go, can I tell you this big story? Yeah. One of my favorite stories.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I go to Africa with Stevie Wonder. I think it was 92. I would go to Cameroon to shoot a documentary with BET and some friends, and first time ever going to Africa. Never knew what it was like, blah, blah, blah. And we get there, and everybody, Stevie Wonder's band, Stevie Wonder. They spoke French and English. And all these beautiful women were following us all around. So that night, all the guys were hooking up with women. But at the time, we were there to visit the AIDS hospital because AIDS was going crazy in the 90s. It was the worst day of my life going in that hospital in a third world country, seeing all these people with AIDS. I threw up. It was this blah. And we get back to the hotel and all the girls are there. And they speak in French. I'm like, man, we just came back from the AIDS and all the crews hooking up with all these beautiful women. And that night, I'm about to close, 2 o'clock in the morning, I get a call from Stevie Wonder. And he says, hey, Paul, you got any Magnum condoms? And Magnum condoms said this came out. And I was like, sure, Stevie. And I went and gave Stevie Wonder condoms at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's my funny story. It's different. I got crazier stories than that.
I feel like everybody's Stevie Wonder story is music related, and that's probably the most unmusic related story.
Yeah, but it was just the same. Stevie was the party man. Went down there were a couple of girls, and I was like, holy, I'm giving Stevie Wonder, I've had some crazy stuff happen. And there's some crazy stories in there.
I was about to say, I'll have to watch the full 90 minutes then, because if that's just one of them, then I have no idea what else is in there.
Yeah, trust me, they get good.
That's crazy, man. So last few questions here before we wrap up. These are just general ones I ask on every episode. If you could go back 10 years ago, maybe give yourself a piece of advice or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
I would have bought my own a lot earlier. I got this saying, if you're not at the table, you'll be on the menu. If you don't own it, they're coming to get you. They're gonna find a way to get rid of you sooner or later, and you can have a great 10-year run. You can have a great 5-year run, but sooner or later, you're making too much money doing too much. But if you own it, it makes so much different. And the other thing that I've learned in the past 10 years, knowing your weakness is your strength. Like, if you don't think you have a weakness that you got to work on, then you're not really strong, And that's probably the difference of you getting, and people have a hard time admitting what they're not good at. Like, I'm terrible with paperwork, I've had a life of tax trouble and all crazy. So until I got somebody to do things for me that I was weak in, but I'm great in other things. And I spend my time on that. So those are two of the biggest things is ownership and control and being able to sort of help people from above. You can do some things on the side and make connections, but the power moves and where you can allocate dollars to so-and-so or give them access to all this. And there's so many creatives out here, and they're not in situations where they can take it to another level.
Yeah, totally agree with that. So 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself in your life in general, you think?
Yeah, I hope alive. The way people are dying now, especially at my age. I just had my first grandchild on March 5th. So I'm slowing down, still healthy, still at my basketball weight from college. Not really, about 50 pounds heavier. But, I don't know, but I know it's going to be helping. Whatever I'm doing is just real easy, and I'm not stroking my own back, but it just feels right. I'm not, I could have Mary J. Blige outside in my cul-de-sac. I won't go. Like, I've seen some of the best shows on earth. Like, it doesn't, going to the Grammys now doesn't make a difference to me. Like, I've had relationships with the best singer on the planet, blah, blah, so anyway, I just want to be happy and at peace. That's it.
That's all you can ask for, man. Absolutely. So do you have any final words of wisdom today for the listeners?
Hey, man, be passionate about it. We all got different gears, and so many times in life, we're just mowing right along, thinking we're really doing good. But every time in my life that I've done incredible things, I was on incredible levels, when it came to work. And you'll feel that in your soul. If you haven't felt some massive change, like when that Chris Porter record, The Water Dance, came out, and we got 30 million views that first month, that makes you work 24 hours a day. You take every call, you do everything, you knock on every door when you're passionate about it. And try to find that combination of passion, love, and earning, and you're going to win, And the peace of mind is real. Hey, when I worked for Kathy Hughes and got fired, I lost my hair, the stress. Now I got dreads. Okay? Because I learned not to worry about, situations, and everything's not for you. And when you don't own it, they're the boss. Like, I thought I did great things for BET, for AOL, for different companies, but they all ended the same way. Or I left. But, and understand that business is business and family is family. And there's a big difference between family and the friends. And be good to everybody, because you never know where they can go.
Absolutely. That's probably the most important one of all. Man, Paul, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate the stories. I appreciate all the wisdom, all the experiences. Keep doing what you're doing. Very inspiring to me, very inspiring to a lot of people.
Yeah, good, man.
Yeah, so thank you.
Hey, thank you, man. If you need me, I'm here. And for everybody, I'm at Muzicbizu on IG and Twitter, Muzicbizu. And I'm here, reach out and touch. And the book's Blackout, my 40 years in the music business.
Thanks, everyone, for listening today. That was episode 101. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit the support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send any funds. And feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you then. Thanks, guys.